course, she still hasn't visited the border. She has not held a press conference, and we are keeping count.
She kept laughing. I said,
"Where is Vice President Harris?" Neither Harris nor the president have actually been to the border.
Senator, you've been to the border. Why hasn't the vice president been to the border?
I have before, and I'm sure I will again.
is there something wrong with her, too?
Well, it is no laughing matter, and I wish the vice president and president would come to the border. I'd be glad to welcome them there.
Not today. But
The only thing almost as bad was Kamala with the laugh.
So they can learn what I've learned talking to the experts, the Border Patrol, Health and Human Services, as well as the local officials and stakeholders who are bearing the burden of this open border policy of this administration.
Do you plan to visit the border?
Why hasn't the vice president visited yet?
Visited the border? I don't have any trips to outline or preview. What our focus is on is solutions.
The area she's supposed to be searching for root causes on.
Ha, that's so funny. Ha, ha, ha.
It doesn't seem that they have much of an answer to the crisis at the border, and maybe that's the reason that they're not pushing it. And
She seems to think it's a laughing matter. I'm concerned not just with her coming down, but I know that you're part of a delegation. I believe there's a large delegation of senators coming to the border this week. Are they going to get access? Are they going to be able to have pictures, or are they going to be sent to some facility that seems to be running okay, better than, and not really getting a real picture of what is happening to the people in these facilities?
But so far, the vice president has not held a single press conference since assuming her new role, nor has she traveled to any of the countries that she's now the diplomatic lead on.
She will not be the first.
Absolutely an issue that she remains committed to, is in the lead on.
Harris did spend Easter weekend in a border state, her home state of California.
I'm so excited to be here.
It's been exactly 2 weeks since President Biden announced that his vice president, Kamala Harris, would lead the administration's diplomatic efforts to address the root causes of migration from Mexico and the Northern Triangle.
Specifically the root causes, not the border. There's some confusion over that.
So talked on the phone to the president of Guatemala last week and the president of Mexico today. But she did not accompany the administration's special envoy for the Northern Triangle on a trip this week to Guatemala and El Salvador. Now the governor of Texas and the attorney general of Arizona say it's time for Harris to visit the border.
I want to make sure that the vice president fully appreciates and sees that this is a crisis. It's not a politically manufactured event.
The Border Patrol is telling us that you cannot build enough facilities. You cannot build enough capacity to keep up with the expected increase in flow of people coming across the border. The green light is out, and so far the administration is sending no signals that you won't be able to make it successfully across.
VP today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks, stemming the migration.
But did you see his performance?
What are your thoughts on her holding this position?
Well, I know the vice president. We served together in the United States Senate. We sat on the Judiciary Committee together. I have great respect for her, but we have sharp disagreement on immigration. Putting the vice president in charge of solving this problem, I don't know, it's like making El Chapo the drug czar. I mean, Kamala believes in open borders.
That you can't let that happen.
you know, it's so interesting because when the president first said that he was putting Kamala Harris as vice president in charge of the border, the sense was that he was putting her in charge of the border, the whole issue. And then a day or so later, the clarification came, well, no, she's not in charge of the border. She's in charge of diplomacy with Mexico and with the Northern Triangle countries to try to stem the flow to the border.
There were about 150 people that were released without a notice to appear. To me, that's unprecedented. How do you release somebody to the country without a notice to appear?
Or I wonder also, Chris, if they think that if her going would just solidify in everybody's mind that it is the crisis that people have been clamoring about, not just a challenge.
Well, at a certain point, you know, I suppose maybe a month or so ago, Dana, you could play this game, well, it's not a crisis, it's a challenge. But when you see these videos that you have just shown of the kids being dropped from the wall, or that little boy deserted in the desert, or more importantly, the tremendous and terrible overcrowding of CBP facilities, 20,000 people in federal custody, 172 border stops in the month of March, I think we're way past the point where you can even pretend that this isn't a crisis at the border. It is. It's a humanitarian crisis. It's an immigration national sovereignty crisis. There's no two ways around it. The question is, what are you going to do about it?
This was the vice president's reaction when she was asked about the migrant situation in the San Diego Unified School District. Now, she laughed when discussing this. Take a watch. We'll get your thoughts on the other side.
More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids and said, we're not paying them nearly enough.
She's had a couple of phone calls with top officials in those countries, but she hasn't gone to the border, and she hasn't gone to the Northern Triangle, and she hasn't gone to Mexico, which kind of makes you wonder whether she knows this is a mess and doesn't want her fingerprints on it.
No, I said, is there something wrong with her? She kept laughing at very, serious questions.